So for today, I just wanted to talk about parent constraints and parent space swapping. So if you're not familiar with parent space, it's basically just saying, where does that object lie, the child object? What is the offset from it to its parent? So say I take this sphere right now. Right now it's in world space, so its parent is just, the world. So 0, 0, 0 should put it just into center. Let me undo that. But if I take that and I parent it underneath, say, this gear here, I'm going to hit P for parent, it gets some new values on it that it didn't have before, because it's saying, what's the difference between this and our gear right here? Alternatively, actually, let's try something here. I'm going to take this and I'll copy this tab so you can see. And when I parent it over to this pink gear, gear B, watch the values change. So you saw there's a change in translation and a change in rotation. So I can't reparent things on the fly in Maya, but I can create a parent constraint that will allow me to change who the parent is. Let me unparent this. See the values changed again. And I'm going to use that parent constraint so that both the gear A and the gear B control this soccer ball. So I'll select both gears, select the ball, and go to constrain parent. So by default, that constraint is set up so that both gear A and gear B have 100% effect on this ball. What that ends up being is they both kind of have like a 50% effect on it in moving it, which generally is something we don't necessarily want in an animation, but maybe in a rig or something like that. If you have an object that stays center, you might use it that way. But for us, for animation, we're thinking about like picking up an object with a character's hand, or maybe the character's hand is going rung to rung on a monkey bar or something like that. We want to be able to change that parent space to one at a time. So if I go and select this ball again, and I go into gear B's value and hit 0 here, now gear B has no effect, and gear A has 100% effect. I should name this something different. It's very confusing. So I've already got a little animation on here where the gear A is going to roll up to here, and then gear B is going to take over. But I need to make that transition happen. So what I'm going to do is go up to that gear, that frame 20, select my soccer ball here, and I'm going to key gear A and gear B as they are. So gear A has 100%, gear B has 0%. I'm going to go one frame, I'm going to reverse that. So gear A has 0% and gear B has 100%. So I'm not going to worry about the shift that happened just yet, because I have a way to show you how to work around that. And that's by changing the offsets of these constraints, of the parent constraints. So I'm going to go back to 20. And if I select my sphere and go down and over, just by using the arrow keys, I will land on the parent constraint node itself. If you look at the outliner, you see there it is underneath the ball. That's how Maya does it by default. So if you have a bunch of objects or controls and you parent constrain them, you're going to see that constraint underneath the object, which is why you see it show up in the outliner like this. But we want the constraint itself. So again, down, over. Now I have it. I'm going to go to Control A to open up my attribute editor. And you notice I have these values here, parent constraint target offsets. And that's just telling the constraint what's the difference between where the ball is and where the gear is. So it's child, basically. It's calling it a child. So what I'm going to do is hit key. So that's going to key it in that position right there. And if I jump over 1, you see how it bounces. So we got to fix that bounce. So there's a bunch of different ways to do that. The way I'm going to do it right now is using a locator. So to hold that position of where that soccer ball is. So if I go into create locator, and I'm just going to, with this locator selected, I'm going to select the sphere or the ball here and say modify, match transformations, match all transformations. So now that locator is in the same place that we want the sphere to be once we do this handover. So now I'm going to do is go forward one frame. My locator is not going to go anywhere because it was just a temporary quick thing. But now if I select that soccer ball, select our locator, and say modify, match transformations, match all transformations. Actually, I'll rip this off so you can see it moves over there. Now I don't want to key anything on the ball itself. It's the constraint that I want to key. So down, over. And right now you see we have our values in here. If I hit update, watch what happens. See how they all changed? So it's just changing that offset of where it was on frame 20 to where it is now on frame 21. So that changes its information for this gear B right now. And since I hadn't done it, I can do it again. And since I haven't done any updating to the Maya scene, when I do that changeover, it doesn't stick, right? It hasn't keyed. It's just like keying in the other objects. So again, select the sphere, select the locator, match all transformations, down and over, and I'm going to say update and key. Okay, so you saw I have those values in there, so they're going to change depending on what's going on. So now I'm on frame 21. I should get that other ball, that other gear is now going to control where that sphere is going. Because then if we do it again, let's say we go to this frame here, frame 20, I will key it. I'm going to go over one frame, and now we're going to switch it so that gear A has the control and gear B has lost control. Oh, I forgot to key it here. There we go. And it's going to bounce back again, which we don't want, but I can go to that frame 42, snap my locator to it again, go to 43, snap the ball to the locator, go to my constraint, update, and key. And now, gear A has control again, and we can go the opposite direction. And what you'll notice is the parent constraint, parent space, or the parent offset for the ball to the gear A in the beginning is different from where it is at the end, right? But because we keyed that constraint, it knows what's going on. If I open up the attribute editor, we can see all those values and what they're doing. See the value changes. Cool. So then we can put this to practice on an animation of an actual character. Alright, so here I have some very lame animation. My office guy, he's had a hard day at work. He's going to want to pick up that glass and for whatever reason just move it over a little bit. So I've already animated his hand doing what I want it to do. And the cup itself is a very simple rig, but you'll notice that it has 3 controls on it. I generally do that with all my rigs, have multiple controls on them just in the same space so that you can use them to change sort of where they want that pivot is, but also so you can change what your like original parent space is, or you know, you can change where that object is without grouping or anything like that. So just like before, what I'm going to do this time, and I'm going to use, I know it's not great, I shouldn't use the controller, but since I know it's IK, I'm just going to use the controller in this case. So what I'm going to do is go to where I want my handoff to happen, which is at frame 17. And I'm going to select the controller, and this time I'm going to do it a little bit different, but I'll show you what I did and how to fix it. So I'm going to select that controller, select the controller of the cup, and do a parent constraint. And just pay attention to where this is at frame 17, because we're not going to want to have it happening before that. And he's going to pick it up, and he's going to put it back down on frame 42, and then leave the cup there. So we do want something we can switch off to. So there's a couple things we can do. I'm going to do this in the realm of trying to use those offsets rather than, and multiple constraints rather than keying the object itself. Because if I wanted to, I can actually just key this object and then blend it on and off. But that's going to do some weird things because I want to make sure that cup ends up in the right place. So instead, I'm just going to use the same technique on this. So for where it is right now, what I'm going to do is create another locator. And we'll call this world, just to make sure we don't get confused. And I'm going to snap it into the same position as the cup. So you see where if I move this away, you'll see that that's there. And I'm going to add this in as a constraint target for our parent constraint. The way I do that is if there already is a constraint on there, I can just say parent constraint again. It'll know that there's a parent constraint and just add it as a secondary target for it to reach for. And I'll put 0 on here for the IK arm. Right now, both of them have very similar offsets, right? Actually, for the locator, if we look at the constraint, the locator itself should be 0 because it snaps to the exact same place. And again, since I'm here, I'm going to key it. So if I go here, you can see I come in, grab the cup. Now I want to have the cup controlled by our character here. I'm going to swap it. So that should look all right. Okay, and he's going to put it back down. I guess right here on frame 42, is that what I said? Yep, frame 42. This is where I want to swap back. So I want to go back a frame, key them both, put it down, 0, 1, key it again. But of course we have that pop back issue. So let's go to 42 and actually let's do this. Because we know that's the position we want it to have happen. I'll create another locator. Sorry, I have a script to do this, so I usually don't do any of this. Snap it in position. Okay, that's where we want it to end up on frame 42. So right there. Now what I'm going to do is there's my local. I'm just naming it or paused B. I don't care. But it's just temporary placeholder. It doesn't really matter. And we'll snap it. Oops, what did I do? I did the wrong thing. Select the control first, select the locator second, match. There we go. And then what I want to do is go back to that constraint. Let's make sure I keyed it. Yep, world is correct. We're going to go to our attribute editor and we're going to, let me make sure I keyed it here. We'll go 1 frame, it's going to pop. You can see why it's easier to do with a script. Update and key. So let's see if that worked. Yep. So often this can get a little bit confusing as you're adding, a little extra information in there, and this is why people end up writing scripts for this, things like that. I think in my next video what I'll do is actually take you how to write a very simple script to do this exact same process and just make it easier on yourself so you're not going in there and having to select things and key them. All right, well I hope that helps.